What's going on, family? Welcome to another episode of Family by Heart. It's our second episode this season, and this was our first interview so far this season. And it was great to have the opportunity to continue to build that rapport with my co-host this year, Brandon, but also to see how our interviewing skills went and worked off of each other. And we had a great first guest for our first interview of the season. And to give you kind of a little bit of bio, I didn't want to read this in front of him, so doing this all kind of post-recording, doing it in post-production. Clarence Trey Armstrong is a two-time graduate of Case Western Reserve University, where he got a degree in nutritional biochemistry and metabolism and a master's in medical physiology. He is currently a first-year medical student at Case Western Reserve School of Medicine, and he is also a 5-year member of the Case varsity baseball team and currently serves as an assistant coach. In his spare time, he also referees high school basketball and umpires high school and collegiate summer ball. He has also worked very closely with Team Impact and is considering the fields of cardiology, sports, or pediatric medicine. And if you can kind of bear with us for the first part of the episode, Brandon and I were both baseball players in high school. Brandon also played in his college days at Baldwin Wallace here in the Cleveland area, Berea to be exact. And so we got to kind of have fun being guys and talking sports with Trey a bit. But then we got into some really good nuggets of information. Piggybacking off of our priorities episode, I really liked hearing how Trey, being an athlete, a coach, a med student, how he prioritizes his schedule, how he uses block scheduling to really set his priorities for him. And then Brandon really liked Trey's points on doesn't matter how you work out, just get some exercise. It doesn't matter what the structure is, just get your body moving, as well as the importance of different colors in either your meals or throughout the full day. And just really a lot of good information on just nutrition and getting your body moving. And it's one of the reasons why we want to have Trey on. So we had a great conversation with him. A lot of fun there at the beginning, again, being guys talking sports. But then we had a nice little lightning round to finish things out, and you get to hear Trey's strike 3 call at the end of the interview. So here's our episode, Trey Armstrong, first interview episode of the year. Let us know what you think. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe wherever possible so you can hear our upcoming episodes. And here's our interview with Trey Armstrong. What's up, family? Welcome to another episode of Family by Heart, Season 3, Episode 2. And you know we're doing things a little bit differently this season. We got Brandon, our co-host. Brandon, what's up? How you doing today, bud?
Doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Another thing we're doing different, we got our first interview episode today. And this gentleman, I met him just a few weeks ago. He was putting on a nutrition talk for young athletes put on by the Special Olympics. He carried himself so well, had a lot of knowledge, pointed out things that I didn't even know. And I've been a trainer for close to 10 years and have definitely some nutrition mindful things, but probably not the way this guy does. But then I got to know a little bit more about his background, see his bio and everything. And I'm like, dude, we got to have him on. And I passed him on to Brandon. Like, Brandon, what do you think of this guy? What do you think? And what did you have to say, Brandon?
So first, when you said the bio, I had to keep scrolling and kind of look at all the accolades, and then, next I wondered, how you were able to get him to commit an hour or so to talk with us. So, Trey, we appreciate you having on and being on and making the time for us.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Busy schedule, but had to make time for a great opportunity. So I'm really excited and I'm ready to rock and roll.
All right, yeah, and there we go. That is Clarence Trey Armstrong. I'm guessing the Trey is for Clarence the third, but yes, we'll discuss another why it might be a Trey. But okay. First, what I want to know about Trey Armstrong, what would the people closest to you say about you? And then second, to follow it up, what's something a lot of people don't know about you? So these are your icebreaker questions here. So what would the people close to you say about you? And then what's something that a lot of people don't know about you? Guilty pleasure or something of the like.
Yeah. Those closest to me, I think the biggest thing that they know is I'm extremely outgoing, but I come from like true intentions. I really just get a lot of joy in meeting new people and interacting with individuals. And it's really just something that is kind of an innate ability that I have, and it's a blessing. I really just have a way of connecting and really just enjoy that aspect. And that's something that, I mean, we had the opportunity to do when we met, when I was doing the talk before. So I think that's what those closest to me would say. Something most people don't know about me. I'd say I love working with kids. The population, specifically like the adolescent or teenage group, it really excites me. And it kind of led to my interest even with medicine, just because of some of the impactful things that occurred in my life around that age. So I really want to continue giving back, and I work with kids in all types of different avenues, but that's something that not a lot of people know.
Okay, work with adolescents. Okay, that kind of feeds into my first question. Like other than the icebreaker, obviously. And again, also going with that, Trey, you are a two-time graduate Case Western here in Cleveland, Ohio, but you're going for the trifecta or the Trey. Um, as you're in the School of Medicine at Case, you got the Case Med shirt on today too.
Yes, sir.
Way to represent what you're doing there. Now, were you originally from the area, and that had you interested in going to Case? Because not a lot of people know about Case Western, unless if you're really from the Cleveland area. Even though it is a well-renowned school, but it's well known better around the Cleveland parts. And is that why you're going there for all three of your degrees? And also, what led you into the field specifically of medicine and learning so much about the body?
Yeah, great questions. So originally I'm from Newcastle, Delaware. So I live about 35 minutes south of Philadelphia. And whenever I say Delaware, I have to clarify, not Delaware, Ohio, Newcastle, Delaware, the
Uh,
state. So a lot of people get that confused. But like you were kind of saying, Case Western is a world renowned, great institution. But I had no clue what Case Western Reserve was when I was growing up. I was a baseball player and athlete throughout my whole life. And when I got to high school, I decided I wanted to play collegiately. So went through the recruiting process and actually had an injury that postponed my recruiting process. So it wasn't until my senior year that I was really able to get out in front of some coaches. And I went to a camp down in Jupiter, Florida. And a week after, I got a call from a coach at Case Western Reserve University. I got off that call and immediately was like, yeah, I'm not going there. I thought it was a military school. You hear reserve. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if that's for me. But did a little bit more research into it, found out about the academic side of things first and foremost. That really excited me. And then we compete very well on the baseball field. So decided to make that transition out here to Cleveland. And 7 years later, I'm still here. And it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing. I had no idea that I'd still be here after all this time. Just the way things worked out. I ended up doing a master's degree after undergrad, continued playing baseball. And now that I'm in medical school, I'm actually coaching, helping coach the baseball team. So uh, Case had a way of keeping me here in Cleveland that I wouldn't even have imagined 7 years ago. But it's been amazing.
Now, who has the better food scene, Cleveland or Philadelphia?
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. I've been so over the last year or so, I've been exploring the scene here in Cleveland more, and there's a lot of hidden gems. A lot of hidden
Yep.
gems. I think Philadelphia, you kind of have more of the world renown. You know about it, you hear about it. But Cleveland, it holds it down. So I'm gonna say it's even right now. I'm gonna just go with an even stance.
Sitting on that fence. Okay.
He doesn't want to offend the other group. You know, he's
Yeah,
got to go home. He doesn't want to offend them. He's going to be here for a little more, so he doesn't want to offend people here. So that's the way to ride the fence on that one.
I'm taking all recommendations though, so if you have anywhere to send me, let me know.
All right.
Okay. We'll keep that in mind. I don't get downtown too often anymore, being a father of two young kids, but we'll do what I can.
For sure.
So, 5-year varsity baseball player. Two things. Does that 5 years include extra year of eligibility because of COVID at all? Or can you possibly be a player coach if you wanted to? Get an extra year out of it. And then, what's your position or positions of baseball?
Yeah. So my career was kind of crazy. So my first year, my freshman year, I actually had a shoulder surgery. So I played in the first like 10 games, and then I was able to get a medical red shirt because I had the surgery. So that was an extra year of eligibility, and that was the year I was planning to use. And then we got a year back from COVID, and then they also gave us a blanket waiver the following year. So all in all, I really could have played 7 years of college baseball. So I could be playing currently as a player coach, kind of, sort of. But I decided to step away and jump more into the coaching scene because my body was a little beat up. I won't lie to you.
There's that. I think he's at the University of Miami in Florida, and I think he's a tight end, and he's on his like 7th year of eligibility. He's got like grandkids and stuff out there catching the ball.
Exactly. Yeah, I saw that.
Well,
I think he's like 26.
Yeah. Yep.
You're missing your name and likeness now, though, man. That's the NIL. You could be doing that. Like,
So actually, because I got that 5th year of eligibility, that was the year that they implemented NIL. So I actually made the most of it. I ended up getting 2 NIL deals during that time. It was a nutrition shop. It was called Uptown Nutrition. They served like meal replacement shakes. So it was right on our campus. So I was kind of like the spokesperson for them. And I was able to get, I think my deal was like I got a free shake every day, which was pretty solid for me. I enjoyed it. Yeah, not bad at all. And then
if it's meal replacement, you're getting a free meal. So that's, and when you're in college, hey, especially going to med school too. So.
Exactly. Can't beat that. And then I got another one with a salsa company. So I made the most of it. But when I played, I was a catcher. But then after surgery, I transitioned more to first base and then designated hitter. I could swing the bat, so that kept me in the lineup.
Swing for power or average? Or both?
I was an average. I was more of an average. I had 2 home runs on my career. I was like a backside single double type of guy. I could hit to all parts of the field, so more of an average.
Right. Well, Brandon and I also had our baseball days, be honest, and I've gotten to, in my mid to late 30s, I got to reinvent them and live again vicariously through playing softball, church softball. And
I absolutely love slow pitch softball.
Oh,
that's my new thing too. I actually have a game tonight. We're in an IM league with a bunch of med students, so we actually play tonight at 9 p.m. So you can catch me on a softball field these days.
There you go. Brandon, any softball for you or anything, or you got the older kids now, so.
Yeah, no. So I played at BW, and then after BW, I played in a wooden bat league for a couple of years, and then I did a little bit of softball, and like I'm at the point now where like I'm trying to get like the guys back together to start playing again, because like we went through the phase where a lot of the guys that I was playing with, when we first started playing, their kids were young, so they were able to get away. But then now a lot of them have kids that are either, the girls are playing softball or the boys are playing baseball. So to get away on a Saturday or a Sunday is almost impossible. So it's like, my kids are older now. And so now like I have the free time on the weekends that I can go play again. And it's trying to get, 15 guys together again it's just tough. It's tough. But if anybody has any openings, hey, I'm a free agent.
I'm right there with you. I'm always ready to sign up for some softball.
Yep.
I was disappointed. I was supposed to play last year on a Friday night league, just 2 nights a month, because my wife and I have an agreement where We both get 2 nights a month, kid free. The significant other watches the kids, and I was supposed to play one here in Berea, and it for whatever reason the team I was supposed to be on, it fell through. They didn't get enough people, kind of like what you guys are saying. And then I was supposed to get my name passed on to someone else. I never heard from anyone. It was like boom, whole season was gone. And I had just started like working out again and really getting in shape, and again the rebirth of my baseball, softball days. Like I suddenly started hitting for power when I was right before I hit 40, and because I was always like with softball, I wasn't patient enough. I couldn't wait on the ball, sit back, and I was always all arms. So I finally started figuring out and hitting for power. So I was working out again. I was looking forward to it, and then it just didn't happen last year. And I got to sub for a couple games for church, but other than that, it was cut down. So maybe the three of us will have to figure out a squad to get together. You know,
and we only need like 8 more people.
Yeah, if you have any listeners out there interested in slow pitch softball, we got a team forming. So let's get it going.
There we go. Now, with your baseball career, any hero moments or remember a particular game that was your best game where you were just in the zone? Maybe you had a couple stolen bases or singles hitting in the game-winning run, or you were the game-winning run, anything like that sticking out in your mind?
I had my fair share of good games, but I think the highlight of my career was a great team win. It was my last year playing. We were playing for the UAA championship. So UAA was our conference. We played teams from a team out of Atlanta, a team out of Missouri, Boston, all over the place. And we get to the last weekend, and we had a 4-game set. And so if we went out, we win the conference. And we had 3 walk-off wins that weekend. And the last one we were down. And one of our freshmen, he came around, hit a walk-off home run. And that was the most ecstatic, our team that year was so close-knit. It was amazing. I'll never forget that moment. And I still coach some of the guys that were like my teammates at that time. And I really appreciate that memory.
You think you're a better coach or player?
That's a good question.
That is good. I like it.
So I would personally say I think I'm a better coach. I think that one of my best parts about being a player was that I was able to be a leader on the field as a catcher, and I understood a little bit about each position, and especially even just understand hitting. I was an approach guy. So I brought that aspect. So now I think as a coach, I think I can help implement that. And I also can connect with guys in a way that gets the best out of them. So I'd say I'm a better coach, but I think even better than a coach, I think I'm a better umpire because I also umpire. So I think that's my bet. That might be my true calling.
All right. You're getting a little ahead. We're gonna get to the umpire thing for sure, but
okay.
Brandon, check your notes real quick. I'm hearing about being a catcher, a coach, leader. Like we got Trey Armstrong on today, right? Not Stephen Vogt for the coach for the Guardians. Is that
debatable?
Okay, I'm just making sure here. Better okay. That is Trey Armstrong.
Not too much.
Hey man, hey. All right. Well, speaking of getting hyped, dude, you're doing great with leading us into the next one. Did you have a walk-up song? And do you have a walk-up song to get you hyped for presentations or talks or tests for med school now? Like what was your go-to for your walk-up song then and now?
Oh, man. Yeah, I was a big walk-up song guy. And put some thought and effort into it each year. I'm trying to think. What was my song the last year? I had 2 songs my last year. One was by a rapper named Key Glock. It was like a hype song. And then I think that year also Kanye West, controversial figure right now, but he had his gospel album. And I had one of the songs off his gospel album. So one was a hype song, one was like a let's get focused. lock
Okay.
in. So yeah, I was a big walk up song guy, and that's funny you say that because I do that now with tests. I use that to get hype or get locked in on the moment, and it's funny how that translates. I think it really puts me in a place where it's like, all right, it's go time. Let's put our best foot forward and be ready for this moment. And I definitely took that from baseball.
I think that there's two things that can kind of change moods almost instantly. One is the weather, right? Nice outside, you're in a good mood. It's hard to be in a bad mood with sunglasses on.
Mhm.
And then the second one, it's music. Walk up songs. Music to get you ready. It just does something. It gets you focused, it gets you hype, it gives you whatever. That's why there's not a whole lot of people that are in the gym without music playing. Not many people work out in silence or anything like that. It gets you going, kind of gets your heart rate going, and a good walk up song is nice.
Yeah.
What about you, Brandon? When you're trying to close a deal on a mortgage contract or anything like that, like
I'm going to date myself because I've kind of had the same one for years. I've always went Never Scared by Bone Crusher. It's been that for a long time. It works every single time. So it's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
I
There
respect.
I even get, when I'm taking my son to football games, and I'm telling him, you got to play, football's an emotional game, but you have to play with controlled emotions. We'll get the Bone Crusher going in the car, and he'll say some words that maybe you shouldn't say, but gets him fired up. Gets out there and has a good time.
Yes, sir.
For
Dustin, what
me,
about you?
especially. So again, as I started hitting the power and stuff there in my softball days, there was NF. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the rapper NF at all.
Mhm.
Um, he had a song off of his therapy session album called "Grindin'," and it just gets hyped as you're walking there. I'm out here grinding. Okay, okay, okay. Dude, I remember just having that song in my head. I would be listening to it on repeat the whole way up to the baseball field, and then as I'm just stepping out on deck, I'm like, all right. And the only time like I ever really flubbed anything was like, okay, I'm like I realized I was paying too much attention to the game and not getting in here and the mental part and getting the song met. And so as soon as I took a step out of the box, relaxed, started grinding, I'm like, all right, and it was good from there.
I
Some
love it.
past songs I back in the day in our low league days, I would listen to like the WWE soundtracks or WWF back then.
Yeah.
I remember like Stone Cold and The Rock.
Yeah.
Back then, those were some, and then also in my mid to early 30s, the Used, a rock band, they had "Time to Shine" "Shine" was the name of it, but it's my time to shine, and that was always a good one for public speaking presentations. I'm like, all right, let's roll with that. So
I love that. Yeah.
yeah,
I do it. We have like in person like clinical exams, and there's been a few times where I was like nervous going in. And I'm like, hold on, I was a college athlete. Let me tap back into my college athlete days, put the music on, and it's crazy just how your energy can change, how much more comfortable you become in the moment. So I think it's so cool how you can translate things that you took from sports and then just put it into your day to day life.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Now I think you had mentioned being a better umpire. I believe Brandon had some thoughts and questions he wanted to ask you about being an umpire and ref.
Yeah. So first one, so now that you're umpiring, do you ever look back and think, man, I did something, whatever it might be when I was playing, that now looking at it from like the umpire point of view, you're like, man, I really shouldn't have done that, or I can see why, the umpire got mad at me or whatever. Have you had any like situations like that?
So it's funny you say that. I never had that experience because my dad is a college basketball referee.
Okay.
So I got into umpiring at a young age. I think I was like 13 when I started because my dad was always encouraging me to do it. And he was the type of basketball player that referees hated, like absolutely hated. And like he knows that. And like now that he officiates, he would not let me disrespect officials at all. So I was
Mhm.
always hyper aware of that and cognizant. So I had a good relationship with umpires. I used to, as a catcher, run back, shake their hand, introduce
Yeah.
myself. And low key, as the course of the game would go along, we'd start getting some more calls. So I think I
Yeah.
became good at it. And I think now, as an umpire, I think I kind of respect it when the catchers do that. I think it does help. It does help.
It's very important as a catcher. I mean, you're sitting there, you've got the ump right behind you the whole time. Sometimes you got to apologize for the pitcher getting emotional about calls and things like that. But like you said, you can catch a couple calls your way as long as you have a good relationship with that umpire.
100%. And especially with catchers, like if you do a good job blocking the ball, so as the umpire, you don't get hit, oh, you're my guy. You
Well,
are
I've
my
seen
guy.
people kind of have let pass balls go by, on purpose after a bad call. Have you ever done anything like that as a catcher? Kind of let the umpire take one off the shin.
There was one time where my coach and I discussed it. I won't lie.
Oh,
I don't think we
Wow.
did it. We didn't do it.
premeditated.
Yeah, the guy was bad. You just could tell he didn't want to be there. He wasn't invested, and we had a conversation about it. We did not do it, so no umpires were harmed. But there was a
No
discussion.
umpires were harmed.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times when there's bad calls, a catcher will do some sort of signal to let the coach know that, yeah, that was a bad call. That was probably in the zone. Do you ever notice any catchers doing that?
So I used to do that. We had
Yeah.
a sign. I would like shake my mask, like act like I was adjusting it. I've seen catchers do it sometimes, and I'm like, sometimes like if I've developed that relationship with the kid, I'm like, nah, that's there. Like that's a strike, and that's gonna be there all game. Or sometimes you admit, all right, I missed that one. That's on me. You know what I mean? And that's a tough pill to swallow. I feel like most umpires aren't willing to do that, but
Mm-hmm.
we're not perfect. We do miss some, and sometimes admitting to it, it almost gives you more respect from the catcher, the coach, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think that's big. And I'm still active coaching, and there's you'll have umpires, referees, officials that are approachable, that will have a conversation with you. But then you have some that, like, if you say anything, just all over you. And it's like from a coach's point of view, it's like sometimes you need to be able to have a conversation. It just yes, the respect needs to go both ways. So as an umpire, I'm sure, and as an official, that when you see some coaches, like, right off the bat, like, this person is just going to be riding me the entire game. Doesn't matter if I am calling right, if I'm not calling it right. That you're going to have somebody that's going to be critical of every single call that you make. If you run across any coaches like that, you're just like, man, I can't wait to get this game over, so to get this guy off my back.
Yeah, especially being a young guy. So, like I said, I
Mm-hmm.
started umpiring at 13, and I was doing like travel games and things of that nature. And so you
Wow.
see a young guy go and show up behind the plate to umpire, and automatically the coach thinks he could get over on you. And that's just where being confident in yourself and being confident in your abilities really can get you prepared for situations like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I mean? They'll chirp or say whatever they do, but as long as you're confident in your calls, you can be approachable. But you also have to know like when to put your foot down and like, coach, that's enough. I think it's about how you carry yourself. And I learned that as I got older and as I did it more and more. I remember I was doing a 7U game one time, and the coach was going ballistic and just complaining about every call. That was my first time ejecting a coach. I think I
Seven
was
U getting ejected.
7U. I think I was like 16. It was a 7U travel ball game. I had to toss the coach, and just those different experiences. I think I got more and more comfortable with being confident in who I am as an umpire and knowing how to be approachable, but then also knowing how to be stern. There's a balance.
Yep.
Now, we're talking about having to throw out a coach. How bad are the parents getting? And to follow that up, you got the parents, but we're now in the age of participation trophies stuff. Are you seeing entitlement from the athletes as well, or is that something that the baby boomers are exaggerating?
Yeah, well, parents, they're the worst by far. especially the parents that don't know the game. Those are the ones I'm like, all right, that's enough, because they're just complaining about things that one aren't relevant and two like that's just not the rules. So sorry, that's just not how it works. Honestly, I think more the kids are kind of becoming just a little bit more entitled, but I think it's based off of like how their parents are interacting with them. So like even we talked about walk up songs, right? Like that's really cool, but that was a privilege. We didn't get walk up songs growing up. That was like
Mm-hmm.
if you rise up and you get better and better, like that's something that you would get, or if you made an all-star game, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Now these travel teams they bring their own little speaker system, and each kid has their own walk up song, and it like announces their name, and it's cool. But I think it just sets the precedent a little too high.
Yeah.
I think there is a balance. I think you do need to just love the game first and foremost, because it's interesting just seeing how travel ball has evolved. Everyone plays travel baseball now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so there is a little bit of an entitlement piece. And I know when I was growing up, it was like you had to earn your spot on the travel team.
Yep.
So it's a little bit different, but I think the kids still overall are fine. It's more the parents.
Yeah.
And one more thing, as far as refereeing and stuff goes, you said your dad's a college referee. Any games that we should be betting on in the next couple of weeks, or
Listen here.
never mind. We can talk about that off mic. So
I
sorry.
I cannot give any betting advice. Funny story though. Funny story. He actually officiated the Purdue versus Fairleigh Dickinson game last year. When Purdue was the 1 seed and got upset,
Mm-hmm.
it was down in
Wow.
Columbus, and I drove down to watch the game, and we're there, and like my friends, they sports bet or whatever, and I don't really get into it. I don't really know too much about it, but like as the game was progressing, we're like, is this really about to happen? And that was one of the craziest basketball games I've ever seen in my life. So that was insane.
Did you see the end of the women's South Carolina Tennessee game?
Oh my
At all?
goodness. Okay. Yeah,
What who
100%.
what was up with the Tennessee defense? Like I don't.
You like
There was
it's
none.
There was none. I was like, you have to at least try to contest the shot. At
And
least.
and Carolina didn't even have a timeout. And how did they get someone so open at the top? Like it just blew me up. My wife's family's from Tennessee, so I'm just like, I just saw again a little bit ago. I'm like, what was going on? So all right.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to transition here into again one of the reasons why we brought you on. So let's get into the nutrition side of things. So, Brandon, you got anything else with the baseball? Refereeing
Maybe towards
anything?
the end. Maybe towards the end.
Maybe towards we're going to get back into it. We'll circle back around. We'll do a call back there.
Sounds good.
All right. All right. So last episode, Brandon and I talked about setting priorities, and you're fit, an athlete, you're in med school, you coach, you have I imagine somewhere in there you have some sort of a social life, being a young guy as well in college, where you have the time. How do you organize your priorities?
Yeah, it's a daily challenge. It really is. And it's something that I have to be cognizant of, and I have to be careful of how I distribute my time because time is finite and I have to make the most out of what I have or the time that I'm given. So for me, scheduling has been huge. So every night before I go to sleep, I try to schedule out my day. I use my notes app, nothing crazy, but I just go through and just time slot everything and say, okay, if I have class
Okay.
at this time, I'm going to do class from 8 to 9. And usually I'll go to the gym before class. And I literally have it penciled in where it's like, okay, I'm going to wake up and this is like the time I have to get dressed. And I'll leave a little bit of wiggle room because sometimes it's slower, sometimes it's faster, but I really try to pencil things in. And I think it helps my efficiency and it allows me to like at least know, okay, these are the things I want to try to get accomplished for the day. And then I have a purpose. I think a lot of people try to accomplish so many things, but they don't really have it ironed out and have a purpose for their day. So I think for me, one of the big things is making sure I have a purpose and have like an idea of how I want to approach my day. And that's been super, super helpful. And it's still, like I said, the priority thing is an ongoing challenge just because I have more and more things being thrown at me. But the fitness aspect for sure is something I take a lot of pride in because I just feel better. You know what I mean? I feel
Yeah.
better when I put that first and put that time in. And then obviously school, my relationship with God is important to me. My family is super important to me. And I'd say those are like the main things on the priority list.
Right. Now, you talk about your relationships and setting your priorities, your relationship with God, everything. Another topic that Brandon and I got into and discussed last time was mental health maintenance, taking care of yourself. And we both have, I would say we admitted, because it's not like it's something to be embarrassed about, but we both said, well, yeah, we have seen therapists. We're comfortable with it. Like, um, I imagine, again, you mentioned a song by Kanye off of his gospel album, and I kind of knew from that, but and the way you carry yourself. But I imagine prayer is a big part of your life. But what else do you do to take care of your mental health
Yeah.
in the midst of how busy you are with everything too?
Yeah. First off, kudos to you two for even going to therapy. Like, I feel like as men, we struggle with that, and we have some of the most hidden mental health issues. So I think a lot of people think of therapy as something like, oh wow, I don't need that. Like, therapy's healthy, and I think
Mm-hmm.
everyone should attend and everyone should do it because mental health is a challenge in all for everyone, just in different facets. So for me, like you said, the prayer aspect, but I think working out has become like huge for my mental health. It just gives me the ability to blow off steam and like take that time in the day for me. And I really like to challenge myself in the gym too. So I almost approach it like if I'm putting myself through a really tough workout, if that's the hardest thing I have to come up against in that day, we're only up from here. You know what I mean? So I think
Nice.
that's one
Yeah.
of the really big ones for me. And then just relationships and building those with family and friends. I think that also helps keep me grounded and keeps me mentally sane. It's easy to get caught up in the struggles of med school and trying to get to this end goal. And there's a lot of delayed gratification that comes with the profession that I'm trying to achieve. But making sure I stay grounded with family, with friends, with those that I really care about, I think that's also been big for me.
Nice.
The what a lot of people do, you have a busy schedule, right? You have a lot of stressors, you have a lot of time management. Time blocking is a very effective way to do it, and I do it the same way as you sometimes. Like if I know that I have a lot of stuff to do on a Saturday, I go with my notes and I just put it all down. And as I go through it, you click that circle and it check marks, it goes at the bottom of the list. And not only are you organized, but when you do check that little circle and you get a check mark, you get a little sense of accomplishment.
Mhm.
And just keep it. A lot of people start like in our our dad life and in professional life. It's like, okay, so we're really stressed out. A lot of people are like, I'm stressed today, it's been a rough day, I'm going to skip my workout, or I'm going to skip my run, or whatever kind of physical activity that somebody is comfortable doing. And that ends up, in my mind, end up putting people into like a spiral, right? Because you're stressed out at work, and then you don't work out, and then you're stressed out again the next day and you don't work out again. But when you work out, your body goes into crisis mode, right? It thinks it needs to protect itself, and it starts blocking out all the stressors and everything, and it lets you focus. So you literally, however long you decide to work out, you are blocking that stress out of your life and you're focusing on something else. And I just think that too often people, when they get busy or stressed, they forget about, or they leave that part out And it really just makes everything worse.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. And I think it's easy to do that, right? Like it's easy to be like, oh, I don't have time. Like, let me put this off. But I think in some aspects, like you do have to put yourself first. And if you know that you're your best self, if you get that exercise, and I mean, like, it not only makes you feel better, but it actually is healthy for you. So
Mm-hmm.
it's that aspect of putting yourself first, even in the midst of a busy day. And I think for myself, that's why I try to work out in the morning. And the nice part about that is all those stressors that we have to deal with on a day to day. Most of them haven't happened yet. If you go in the morning, you haven't had anything from work, you haven't had anything from school. No one's texting or calling you. It's your time to go do what you need to do for yourself. And so that's why I really try to go in the morning and knock it out. And then if something in the course of the day does happen or my schedule gets thrown around, which it happens, it's life, right? At least I already know I accomplished one of my major goals for the day. And so no matter what else happened in that day, I feel good that I took care of me. I took care of my body, and I did that to start my day off.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's definitely been one of my focuses with Family by Heart is for us men to lead by example, to take care of yourself first and show your wife, show your kids, show your family that you are taking care of you, and that by taking care of yourself first, that's allowing you to be healthy enough at an older age to get down and play on the ground with your kids or play with their grandkids when Brandon has those in like 5, 6 years.
Easy, buddy.
Yeah.
Let's slow that down a little bit.
Just had to throw that out there. You know, my kids are still
reel that
ways,
thing
you know.
back in, man.
So, yeah.
But no, just how important it is for you to take care of your body first and leading by example.
Yes.
And one of the things that I've found helpful was when my wife and I first started the foster care journey before we adopted our boys, where our case could go any which way. As foster parents, you really don't have a lot of say in many things. You're kind of on the bottom of the totem pole. There's limited information that comes to you, but you're doing all the heavy lifting. And I don't count that as a workout as far as the heavy lifting goes. Like you're taking care of the kids. But I asked for Christmas one year. I'm like, you know what? Get me a really good slam ball. And so anytime I'm stressed, if it's the wife, it's the kids, it's the case, it's the whatever it might be, like I at least know I have a slam ball. I could take it outside if I want to get away from the kids or go back in this office studio space that we have, slam it down, get some of that anger, aggression out.
Mhm.
And it's such a relief. And then the other one I'll throw out there for people if they haven't listened before or heard the idea. If you don't have a slam ball, but you're feeling the anger and you want to break stuff or something, get an ice cube from your freezer. Get ice, go outside, slam that ice down on the ground. You get the immediate gratification of something breaking and shattering. And then you got no cleanup because it's just going to melt. So it's one of the best things you could do. Like it's in our grief therapist, when we were dealing with her infertility, she told us about that. And it's like, oh, we love it. And our kids use it. Our 4-year-old uses it. He asks for ice and slams it down, and it's helpful. So
Yeah, no, I love that, and I think you made some really good points there, especially as men, right? Like, and that's something I've started to see more in the healthcare field. As we get older, as men, we grind until the wheels fall off, and we try to take care of everyone but ourselves, and that's why you start to see when the elderly come in, it's usually the woman is helping guide the man in because for so much of our lives we put our families first, we put everyone but
mm,
ourselves first, and we never take care of us. So as men, it's important that we do take care of ourselves because if we're not our best selves, how can we be there for our family in the best way possible as well? So make sure, like, for mental health, you seek that therapy, you seek that person that you can talk to. As physical health, like we go and we exercise and we take care of ourselves, because it's important that we are our best selves for our families, and we can't do that unless we take that time to really care about us.
Yeah, and we'll definitely be circling back to some of the fitness side of things for men to take care of. But let's get into kind of some of the nutrition. Again, you have degrees in nutritional biochemistry and metabolism. And again, I met you because you gave that talk for the Special Olympics on nutrition, and you dispelled a common myth about milk, which I kind of told Brandon about yesterday. So can you bust that myth for our listeners now, and maybe like two other myths or misconceptions about nutrition that many parents seem to have? So
Yeah,
like two or three
yeah.
things.
The one that you're discussing is just with milk, and like um, the milk world, or the milk agencies really pushed milk for quite some time, for many years. And they made it seem like milk was end all be all. If you're not drinking milk, then like you're doing it wrong. But common or more modern science has started to disprove some of those things, and a lot of it is contradictory because you have ad money coming from different people to try to prove different sciences. But it really boils down to just like marketing and ads. But milk isn't as great as we've always thought it to be. There is a benefit of it 100%, especially the calcium aspect, especially for growing children. And so one of the things that we also talked about is if you're dealing with kids that are restricted eating, eating disorders are a big prevalence within, especially adolescent populations. And some of the physicians I've had the ability to work with, when they do have children that do have eating disorders, they're pushing them to just get any calcium in that they can. And one of the things that they push is telling your kid it's okay to eat ice cream. And so most parents would be like, oh my goodness, ice cream? Like, what? What are we doing? But when you do have children that are restricted eating, it's more about just the calorie intake and making sure that they're getting their metabolic needs and that they're getting that
Mm-hmm.
serving. I think sometimes we look at foods to be good or bad, and I don't believe there's a good food or a bad food. It just depends on how much you're consuming and how often you're taking it in, and also what your body truly needs, especially with kids. So I guess that can also take me into the next thing that I'd like to just disprove, or not so much disprove, but just talk about, um, is making sure like you're getting all the proper nutrition, but it doesn't have to be one size fits all, right? I think we see a lot of diagrams, we see a lot of papers and things just that says, oh, you have to eat this certain way. There's not a one size fits all. And I think that's where we go wrong, because if we don't feel like we fit into that standard healthy diet, we feel like we're doing it wrong. Your nutrition can be beneficial however you want to approach it. I think there's core principles that everyone needs: vegetables, fruits, yes, but those can be consumed in different ways. You may not enjoy eating a fruit, but if you love smoothies, have a smoothie. You know what I'm saying? Like there's many different ways to go about nutrition, and there's definitely not a one size fits all. And I think that's really a key driving home point.
Brendan, you had uh, told me yesterday about a question with when you eat.
Yeah. So I've heard kind of different opinions, and this might, go back to what you just said about there's not really a one size fits all. Breakfast. So I've heard people on the side of you should eat breakfast to get to jumpstart your metabolism for the day, and that you shouldn't skip a breakfast. And then also I've heard the point of view of why are you taking in so many calories right then at the beginning of the day? Like, what are you trying to do today? Run a marathon? There's no need to have that massive caloric intake at 8 a.m. Which so you're waking up and you're working out. Are you eating breakfast right afterwards? Are you doing a protein shake? Are you doing meal replacement? Or do you go get eggs, bacon, sausage, toast? How do you do your breakfast if you do
So
breakfast?
yeah, so first and foremost, I think the biggest thing is like, what are you trying to achieve, or who are you in the first point? Like, what does your day to day look like? So for some people, if they aren't really active in the morning, they don't really get their day started until later on. Maybe breakfast is something that you don't really engage in. Or maybe if you know that you work late nights or you're a shift worker, that can also alter things.
Mm-hmm.
So for me personally, I don't eat before I work out, and that's just my preference. But I do have meals after, or I do have. I'm not a big breakfast person. It depends on the day. But I do have something to put back on my system after I did just do a workout, because obviously, like muscle recovery, and you do need protein, you do need those things in
Mm-hmm.
order to keep up like a physique. But I think a lot of people, especially with the breakfast conversation, I think it's very dependent on your lifestyle, your habits, and what your day to day looks like. So, for instance, if you have, let's say, an elementary school kid, and you know that breakfast, lunch, well, let's say lunch is at a certain time each day for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they have 3 classes that they have to get through before lunch. It probably is really beneficial for that kid to eat a good breakfast to keep them engaged and keep them active in the learning environment, and not having
Mhm.
them worried about, oh, I'm starting to get hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So for a child, that's where they tend to push more, like, make sure you have a full breakfast. And it makes sense, right? They don't have the jurisdiction to be like, oh, I'm hungry now, let me go grab a snack, or let
Yeah.
me just eat earlier. So for that instance, it probably is very important for them to have breakfast. Now, as an adult, you may go to work and you may not really be hungry in the morning, but you like to work out in the afternoon. So it's probably really important for you to have a good lunch to fuel you up for that workout,
Mm.
or fuel you up even if you have, say you work construction. Say it all depends, right? It depends on your day. But I think that's where it becomes more dependent on what's your current situation. There's not a right or wrong answer when it comes to the breakfast. It
Mm-hmm.
depends on, one, how much are you intaking, and then also what's your physical activity, or what's your work demands look like for the course of the day.
So I think you might be answering like my next question there, but maybe we'll break it down a little simpler. So there's for parents on the go, you have yo-yo dieting or the different fad diets. But to break it down most simply, what's like the most appropriate and simplest mindset for parents that they should have when it comes to nutrition or a healthy relationship with food, both for themselves and for their kids? Because honestly, I could speak from example because I've started the year with a scale larger than I've seen it in any of my life since I became a stay-at-home dad a couple years ago. I put on over 20 pounds. I would like to say some of it is muscle, but ain't all of it was muscle. Um, but it seemed easier to just pick something up when you're running the kids around. So, what's like the simplest mindset for parents to go into with parents on the go when it comes to nutrition and healthy eating?
Yeah, I'll keep it really simple, and I'll just give like key points. I think number one, portion size. I think most people don't understand how much food they're actually consuming, and I think that's where people can feel like they're going awry. So you may be eating a very nutritious, very healthy meal, but if the portion size is way too large, then you're bound to put on weight, because at the end of the day, weight is calories in versus calories out. And that's just the simplistic way to even observe weight, right? So portion size are key, especially when you're working with children. Um, Next, I would say balance. Balance is also something you want to achieve, right? So there's different food groups. We have our vegetables, we have our fruits, protein, starch, all those types of things, right? And so we want to achieve just balance. We want to see, and it's really simplistic, you want to see multiple colors on a plate, or maybe not in that one meal, but just over the course of the day. So
Mm.
maybe mixing in a fruit or mixing in a vegetable, and making sure there's enough protein, just balance. Balance, balance, balance. And then secondly, eat till you're full. I think sometimes we push especially when you're working with kids, we're like, oh, you need to finish that. You need to finish your whole meal. Have your child eat until they're full. And then if they're not hungry anymore, wrap it up, save it for later. I think sometimes that relationship with food can become intolerable for kids, and they almost feel like they're forced to eat, and it doesn't build a good foundation because eventually they're going to make their own food decisions. They're going to decide what they're eating, how much they're consuming. So I would say number one, portion size. Number two, excuse me. Number two, balance. And then number three, eat to satiety or eat until you're full.
Okay. Well, you just pointed out some things to me there, portion size and eating till you're full. I mean, I kind of gave the kids the runaround with like, hey, you need to finish that. And then suddenly my portions got bigger because I didn't want to waste the food. So I guess I know where those 20 pounds came from besides the gym.
It happens, right? It's very easy for that to occur. But yeah, I think a lot of people too, like we don't want to waste food. I'm the same way. I hate being wasteful. But when you're like, if your kid's not hungry, okay, we're gonna wrap this up. If you get hungry later, you can finish the rest of this meal. Yeah. Right? We can preserve that food and put it back there for them to eat later.
I think the guilty part there for me is like, or the part that frustrates me there is when I ask the kids what they want to eat. They tell me, I get them that food, and then they don't eat one of it. And I'm like, you asked for it. I asked you what you wanted. You said this. I got it for you. Now you're not eating it. And then, there's memes and stuff out there like, it's like, oh, well, they said they're not hungry. Then 15 minutes later, they look you in the face and say, I want a snack.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Well, are you for real right now? Like, come on.
One of the things I've also learned is there's value in when you give them those options, allow them to partake in the process of making that food. Right. Yeah. So if you tell them, okay, we have these options, like which one do you want? And they say, oh, this one, and they're excited about it. Okay, help me prepare it. Because that gives them that accountability, and that it gives them like that feeling of, oh, I cooked this for myself. And then it gives them a little bit more pride. And then they may sit there and like, oh, I made this. And like the same way we think, oh, I just made this for you, you're not going to eat it. They're like, oh, I just made this for myself. Like, let me enjoy it. And it just also helps the relationship with food.
Now, by prepare and cook, you mean you let them open the package, right? And order it at the drive-thru? Is that what you mean?
Yes, exactly. We don't need any children boiling water. That is not my advice. No using knives. But yeah, let them open the package. Let them place, if they're making a sandwich, put the bread down or lay the cheese. Things simple.
Now you're humoring me. Okay. All right. Now, same question about the simplest breakdown for parents on the go when it comes to nutrition. But now let's substitute food and nutrition with exercise. Like, what's the simplest rules for parents on the go to follow when it comes to making sure they're taking care of themselves? They're getting the exercise they need for the day.
For sure. Keeping it simplistic, if in an ideal world, you as a parent should try to get 30 to 45 minutes of exercise 3 to 4 times a week. That's ideally, if you're getting that, you're meeting like the basic requirements for exercise. Now, I know that can be tough for people, right? Like people may not have 3 or 4 days in a week where they can set aside that time for themselves, but exercise can be however you make it, right? I think we have this preconceived notion that exercise must happen in a gym. It must be going on a run. It must be weightlifting. No, not necessarily, right? Exercise can be whatever works for you in that moment. So even for myself, one thing that I've incorporated is going on study walks. So as I'm on my phone, as I'm going through note cards, I'll just walk. I'll just walk around my neighborhood. I'll walk around the building that I'm in. And I think that's something that a lot of us can do. Even if you're just scrolling on social media, do it while walking, right? So I know plenty of us spend at least an hour on social media a day, right? Why don't we kill two birds with one stone, enjoy our social media time, but do it while we're engaging in some type of exercise? So, on a simplistic aspect, make exercise work for you and make it something that doesn't feel like it's overbearing. I think we all have these ideas like, oh, if I go exercise, I got to go to the gym. I got to be in there for an hour to 2 hours. I got to do every single muscle group. It doesn't have to be that, right? Let's start simplistic. And then as that becomes easy, work our way up from there. Or even when you're taking your kids to their activities, try to incorporate exercise while you're there, right? So if you're taking your son or daughter to baseball or softball practice and they're out at the field running around, it's probably good weather if you're outside and they're practicing. Why don't you just take laps around the field, right? You can make your phone calls for the day, business calls, whatever it needs to be, but just enjoy that time and walk instead of just sitting in our car and just stressing about practice, especially for the helicopter parents who are super concerned about what's going on at practice. It'll get you away from it a little bit.
There you go.
So you're saying that if the kids were at practice, you should not be sitting in the car scrolling Instagram reels and eating McDonald's? Is that what you're saying?
That is definitely what I'm saying.
All right.
Yeah,
I feel attacked right now. I feel attacked.
no, but
My
Dustin,
kids
just
aren't
don't
old enough to
supersize.
be in practice for anything, but I feel attacked right now.
no,
Don't
but
supersize.
that's just the natural. That's just what we do as humans, right? Like we're not thinking about that time being time we could take back for ourselves. You can take that time back for yourselves and get some things accomplished, and it just works on the efficiency of the day. There's only 24 hours in the day. We can only do so much. So as you're doing some of those daily activities that you're either required to do or just you enjoy doing, add in a component that'll help better you in the long run.
Just a couple more questions before we get into a nice, fun lightning round.
Okay.
To wrap things up. One, what would you say is as far as your belief, is the biggest metabolism killer? It could be either a food or drink or an activity. Like, which do you think is bigger? Because I mentioned this to Brandon before. I've actually heard, much like the milk myth, that one alcoholic drink can shut down your metabolism for 24 hours. Not a lot of people know about it because of how much ad spend is put on the alcohol industry. So we don't really hear that, but that's something I've heard through sources with the YMCA. So to you, what's the biggest metabolism killer for those of us trying to get rid of our dad bods and just be a father figure?
I like that. That was a good one. That was a good one.
Got the dad jokes too. So,
Yeah,
hey.
that was a banger. That was a banger. First and foremost, I want to clarify metabolism is something that we become hyper focused on. But there's nothing that like truly boosts your metabolism or like truly slows it down besides like what you're actually physically doing. So in terms of the alcohol conversation, there is some truth behind that, but that goes more on like a metabolic level because if you're consuming alcohol, then you can't produce glucose through like a backup pathway. So there is some truth behind that. But I do think there's times where we're like, oh, if I do this one thing, my metabolism will speed up. Your metabolism is at a baseline based off of your body composition, right? So it's based off of your sex, your height, your weight, and then what a lot of people don't realize, your muscle mass. Muscle and fat both burn calories, but muscle burns way more calories than fat does. And so that's where I think a lot of people go wrong. A lot of people think, "Oh, I need to go through weight loss. I need to run, do all these different like aerobic activities." Aerobic activity is great, right? And I think activity in general is great. But where we lose the benefit is when we're not putting on muscle as well. So my answer wouldn't be a specific food or exercise. It would be making sure you're doing some type of strength training making sure even if it's body weight, like doing body weight squats or doing push-ups, things of that nature, just because you still, especially as you age, you need to continue building muscle, and that in turn turns into a higher metabolism because muscle does burn more calories than fat.
Why did
So
you look at
12-ounce curls? Do 12-ounce curls count as weightlifting?
100%, and that's where people also don't realize. Like I implemented this with my grandparents. Like as you get older, it doesn't have to be the gym. You can literally go in your cupboard or go in your pantry and just find a cane and just curl that. Right? Or if you have 2.5-pound dumbbells, and if you do it long enough, you go for a minute as fast as you can. Like these are all ways that you can incorporate exercise within your home. It doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to, especially if you don't have the time. Just that physical activity with a 12-ounce curl, that can get the job done. Now,
keep in mind, Brandon. Yeah. Also, keep in mind, Brandon, that it's just that first curl is 12 ounce. The next one, you're doing the drop set. You're doing a drop set because you're drinking more each one. You're drinking more each one. And also, I just want to know, Trey, why you looked at Brandon when you talked about as you get older. That's why did you look at him on your screen? Like,
I don't think you know where the screens are on mine.
I don't. I'm just.
I think you're insinuating.
I'm pretty sure I'm the oldest one here, anyway. So I'm just taking my shot at Brandon where I can,
Appreciate you.
Absolutely, buddy.
Keep you grounded.
Absolutely.
And I hyped up 12-ounce curls, but I did miss the joke at first. That was a good one, too. The dad jokes have been on fire today, gentlemen.
Hey, man.
We're 40s. That's all we got right now.
Hey. All right, and then one more before we get into the lightning round. What is give me one from each category. One of your best hacks for fitness and one of your best hacks for nutrition.
Oh. Okay, we'll start with the nutrition. Meal prep. I think meal prep is something that people don't value or don't realize the value. But it's huge, especially when it comes to the portion sizes, especially when it comes to like just being busy with life. Because I think a lot of times we make poor decisions when it comes to eating because we're crunched for time or we're hungry in that moment. But I think it's really beneficial to either meal prep, but then also to pack a lunch, pack your snacks for the day. If you know you have a long hour commute, we think like, oh, I'll eat at home and then I'll wait till I get to work. Like you might get hungry on that commute. Pack a few snacks, especially like healthy snacks that you can indulge in that moment. And it prevents you from making that stop at your favorite fast food restaurant where you probably aren't going to make the best decision.
I'm attacked again. Go ahead.
No attacks. This is all of us, right? Like this is even for myself. When I started med school, I started meal prepping. I started buying meals from a company, and it's made all the difference because it takes out the complication of it. So I would 100% say meal prep and like packing the lunch aspect. I think those are huge. On the fitness side, a fitness hack. I would say going back to my last point that we talked about fitness, the same way we talk about balance with nutrition, balance with your fitness, right? So like a lot of people get into the idea or the mindset like, oh, I need to lose weight. Let me go walk on or run on the treadmill for an hour. Or let me go just do the Stairmaster for an hour. Like have balance and make your fitness fun. Make it fun because when it's not fun, then it feels like a chore or a job. Make it fun and do different activities that you just enjoy. One thing that I just got into is pickleball. Pickleball is like taking the nation over. And I thought it was like, I was like, I don't know about that one. It's a good time and you can definitely get a sweat. You could definitely get a great sweat in. So yeah, have balance and make it fun.
Let the record show it was the guy in his 20s that brought up pickleball.
That's crazy, right?
Show.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I
record show.
I literally tried to stay away from it as long as possible because everyone's like, oh, it's an old person sport. But nah, pickleball, you get a good sweat in. It's a good time.
All right. Let's finish with a little lightning round. Unless you got one more question at all, Brandon.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right.
Lightning round.
And Brandon, when I see me point up, it's time for you got the final question, the lightning round. I think you know what it is.
All right.
All right. So here we go. Lightning round. Coffee or tea?
Personally, coffee. But are we talking personally, or are we talking nutrition?
How you start your day. So these are just the quick answer. Let's just roll through them.
Coffee.
So coffee. Okay. Hot or iced?
Hot. We'll go hot.
Okay. Gatorade or Powerade?
Right now, Powerade. Right now.
There goes your NIL with Gatorade. Recovery, sauna or ice bath?
Ice bath. Cryotherapy. That's a good one.
Okay. What do you love to hate more, core or leg day?
I implement core into my workouts no matter, so we'll say leg day.
There we go. Smoothie or protein shakes?
Smoothie. I like the sweetness.
All right. Wings, bone in or adult nuggets? Boneless wings.
Let's go bone in.
There you go. That's the right answer.
He just didn't want to say boneless. That's it.
Your potatoes, do you like them as fries or potato chips?
Fries, but like waffle fries specifically.
Okay.
Fire.
Does pineapple go on a pizza, yes or no?
Yes. And this is a new finding for me. Yes.
There you go. All right. Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Reebok, Under Armour, Nike, or Adidas?
Oh. We're only rocking Nike around here.
Okay. There goes
Checks
your other
over
NILs
shoulder.
again. Live music or a live sporting event?
Oh, live sporting event. Yeah.
Okay. You're a young guy. Bar or nightclub?
Oh. Let's nightclub. Right now, nightclub.
Okay. And then your vacations. Do you want them to be relaxing or adventurous?
Adventurous. I want to see the world.
Okay. So mountains or beaches?
Beaches.
Okay. And then our final one, Brandon.
So we want to hear your strike three call. We want to hear it. We want it full. We want it full go. We want it loud. Man. We want whatever animation you got. Let's hear that strike three call.
All right, I got to get in the zone. This is like such a just it happens.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hold on, I might have to stand up for this one. It also switches depending on like what level I'm doing, but we'll give you the college one for now.
Let's get the most aggressive one.
Yeah, we'll give the college one. Let's move up here. I can't hold it. I'm gonna just go here. Strike! And just punch him. Yeah. No three. You just straight strike and just a pull.
Just let him know.
I like the lawnmower. I love it. Got the lawnmower.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You just got cut. You get the lawnmower. There you go. I love it. Well, Trey, this is awesome. Thank you so much for making it happen, for being on here with us today. We definitely got a lot of useful information. We got to relive some of our sports heydays on our own, just through talking with you, and just get in the mindset of the referees and umps that are controlling the outcome of our kids' sports future. So we know to have them approach you with a handshake ahead of time. And again, when we get off the mic, we'll talk about what games your dad is reffing. But other than that, dude, this was awesome. I really appreciate you being on here and spending time with us. Where can let's go with your basic social. Where can people find you on social? And then we'll put all your contact info in the show notes.
Yeah. So I'm a big Instagram user. So it's Trey, TRE _ day, DAY, and then the number 1. So Trey Day 1 on Instagram. Pretty active on there, post a good amount, and like to connect with people. So yeah, definitely check me out on there. But yeah,
Awesome.
Dustin and Brandon, this was awesome. I really appreciate you guys for having me. The work that you all are putting in and spreading to the world is positive, and I love it. So thanks for having me, and it was great being here.
Awesome. Well, appreciate having you, man.
Yep. Thank you. Great job.
Yes, sir.
So there you have it, family. Another episode in the books. Our first interview episode of the year. And as you could tell by the end of the episode, Trey, Brandon, and I, we were having fun. We were razzing at each other. We were family by the end of it. And so I just want to remind you, it doesn't matter how your family is formed, how it's made, what you consider your family. We're born into our names, but we are all family by heart.